Internet? Welcome to another Patch and Play live stream. I believe this is number 5, but honestly I've lost count. If you're new to these, welcome. This is a live stream that I've been doing once a week for about a month. And the idea is to just do some sort of unplanned modular patching, hang out with anyone who stops by to chat, and we can work together to patch things, come up with something interesting, chat about modular, chat about music production, chat about electronic music. I'd like for these to be ideally entertaining and educational. I really like to teach, and it's one of my goals as a content creator for YouTube is making things that can inspire people and educate people to do similar things to what I'm doing, or who knows what else. So if there's anything you see here that you have questions about, or anything that you'd like to sort of focus on, then please let me know in the chat. That is the thing that I think would be most valuable for our time together. And if no one has any particular thing that they want to do, then I'll just come up with something and we'll see where it goes. Do say hello in the chat if you're here, so I can greet you and make sure that I'm answering any questions. Melophile or Amelophile, welcome. Thank you very much for sharing. I believe I've seen you once before. Visions Music Group. Oh, I'm so honored to have you here. I'm actually a fan of your channel. I've been watching it for quite a while now. If anyone's in, I assume anyone here is interested in modular. I recommend Visions Music Group. He's got a really cool channel. He's got a lot more gear than I do, and some really cool videos where he really deep dives into exploration of various modules and kind of almost like a video diary of his experience over a longer period of time getting into modular. And it's fantastic. Also very relaxing voice that I could totally just like listen to fall asleep. Not that the content is boring, but it's a good combo for me at least. All right, let me not overbrew my tea. I've been having the same green tea during these streams for the last several, but I should probably change it up just to add some variety. Also, another thing I'm doing differently this time is, I'm not sure if you can tell for anyone that was here before, but usually I have these cases mounted at an angle so that it's easier for me to see them in front of me. But what ends up happening is that on the camera, it kind of creates an odd distortion because the camera is directly above the table looking straight down. So this time I have the modular cases sort of flat on the desk, which should make them look a little bit better for those of you watching, but it makes it a little harder for me to see. So this might be a failed experiment, but we're going to try it and see how it goes. Terror 1433, welcome to the stream. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I designed it myself. Obviously didn't build any of the modules, but it was all curated by yours truly. Patch from scratch is a lot of fun. I mean, every patch ultimately came from scratch, but it's a lot of fun to do it with other people. Before I started doing these, I wasn't sure how they would go, and I've been pleasantly surprised that it's been a lot of fun every time, and I feel like we've actually gotten somewhere. Maybe not like, producing a music that I would release, but something that I felt like was valuable. Tara, having a lot of trouble with rings. What do you think of this module? What kind of trouble are you having? Trouble, like technical trouble, like it's not working, or just trouble trying to use it for something that you're happy with? It's one of the first modules I got, I think maybe in the first 2 or maybe 3 months. And let me switch to my left cam. Rings is this one over. Oh, by the way, also let me know how the exposure looks on the camera. This is kind of actually a weird time of day because there's a window right past my desk, and the sun is in such a position that it's actually shining a kind of a beam of light right through the middle of the desk. So it's hard for the camera to get a good exposure on it without being too bright or too dark. But actually Rings is kind of right in the bright spot. So let me know if that looks too bright. I can kind of turn the exposure down so it's easier to see. So Rings is one of the first modules I got, and I know it's kind of a cliche in Eurorack, like the cliche, and I think we actually did this either last week or the week before. The number one cliche in Eurorack is playing rings into clouds, which is the predecessor to beads that I have here. And so it's no coincidence that these two are positioned next to each other. But yeah, rings is like a Karplus strong resonator. So it creates sort of string type sounds that's supposed to model physical instruments. And then clouds and beads are granular processor with reverb. So you send these kind of pretty plucky string sounds into the processor, and it creates these kind of waves of smeared tones that's good for sort of generative ambient. It's very, very pleasing, but has like a very distinctive sound that kind of got overused. And so it's kind of become a meme that the combination of using those two. But rings, I don't usually use it that way. I think I actually don't use it that often now, just because it does have a very specific sound that's I think is very recognizable. I think it's got 3 different modes. So I don't know how well you can see, but this top left, or actually it's the top right, and actually I can't even see it, so I have to look at the screen. But the green mode is like a modal resonator. The yellow one is sympathetic strings, which to me sounds the most like a real stringed instrument, like a guitar. And then the red mode is like inharmonic strings, so it's more percussive. I think it sounds like prettiest in the yellow orangey mode, the sympathetic strings. That's definitely like the perfect one for sort of the rings into clouds sound. And for that reason, I think I actually tend to use it in green and red mode more often, because those sounds are a little less recognizable. I think there's like a few oscillators that are a few sound sources in my racks that I have, that I feel like when you hear it, you know exactly what module it is. For me, the other one is Manacitaritas, which is over in this other case. This oscillator from Noise Engineering, to me, it has a very recognizable sound. So as soon as I hear that, I know exactly which module it is, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I try to do that a little more sparingly. And I feel like for me, the sweet spot of getting nice but not overused sounds from rings is to stick to the green or the red mode. But I will also say that even though I like kind of noisier music and like industrial and stuff, it's hard for me to stick with sound design for things that are very kind of clangorous. I tend to like things that are more harmonious, and so that also makes it a little hard for me to use rings in kind of like the outer edges of its use case. I tend to like the prettier sounds. So it is hard to get something that's like very different from its usual use case, but also is pleasing enough to me that I want to use it in my music. I don't know if that makes sense. So use rings with VCV, no affinity for the sounds. Well, I mean, if you don't like the way it sounds, then that's not really a problem with you. I think that's just means it's not a good combo. And not every module is for everyone. That's absolutely the case. Forget what we were talking about recently. Oh, I think it may not have been in a live stream, but a few weeks ago I did a video review, like a deep dive of Icaria, which is this stereo filter that I have over here. And I love this. This is my favorite filter, at least of the ones I've tried, of the ones that I own. And I did, and then like I think the day after I published that video, there was a good thread on the modular subreddit where someone was saying like, what are your sort of, I forget what the title was, but it was something like, what are your sort of most surprising, least used, most used, kind of top 10 in various categories of modules. And the very first module they listed of like a regretful purchase was Icaria. I was like, that's so funny that's like the one you lead with as a mistaken purchase, because to me that's like my favorite filter. So I think the lesson that I took from that is that, modular is, everyone has a different opinion. Like there isn't really like a good or a bad module. It's just like, do you like the sound of it? Do you like the user interface? Does it kind of mesh with the way you think? Are you able to use it? Does it inspire your creativity? Like those are all the things that matter, and that those can be very personal. So just because something's popular doesn't mean you have to get it, or that if you get it and decide it's not really working for you, that there's something that needs to be fixed. I think that's totally fine. I have a few other modules that are not in either of these two cases that didn't really work out super well for me, or at least were not as useful as the things that are in here now, and so I've prioritized other things, and that's fine. It takes some experimentation, and you kind of sometimes you have to try something to see how it works for you. So I think that's all good. Let's see. Fractured Signals, welcome to the stream. Thank you very much. Again, we'll say that I can't take credit for the beauty of any of these modules, but I do take credit for this particular curation and ordering of them. Visions music. Oh, I'm glad you like the Icaria video. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'd like to do more videos in that style, the very sort of long form deep dive ones. It's a lot of work to do those, so I won't do them every week. I try to sort of mix it up with music performances and deep dives, and then some more kind of tips and tricks kind of stuff, which honestly I haven't been doing much of lately, but I would like to get back to that type of video because those are actually quite popular. Yeah, it is kind of like a suitcase. It's funny that you refer to it as a suitcase because this is when I'm just using these to perform. If you've watched my performance videos, you'll know this, but I don't usually have them laid out side by side like this. The IntelliGel cases come with these, well, they don't come with them, but they have attachments at the top where you can attach these joiners. Let me grab one. These things. So you can stick this in, it clicks into the back here, and this part of it, the black rubber foot, will lean on the desk, and then you can put the other one vertically above it into this part. And so one of them I have the black case on the bottom kind of angled up, and then the light case is like vertical on the top, so it kind of creates this concave angle that makes it very easy to both see and patch both of the cases at once, and also means that for patching in between the cases, I don't need cables that are as long because the farthest distance is not as long here. Like if I want to patch something on the right here to the left here, I need a pretty long cable. But when they're oriented vertically, like the longest distance is the top of this one to the bottom of that one, which isn't that far. But yeah, these cases are awesome. These are the first generation IntelliGel performance cases. There's now a generation 2, which has a few improvements. There's like improved power supply with more headers in the back, which I think is a kind of a needed feature. One of the downsides of this case is that it has a relatively small number of power headers for how much space there is. So you really have to be careful that you don't run out of headers, or that if you go over the number of headers that it has, then you have to do some daisy chaining with some of those like fly out cables. But the new one has more headers, so you can kind of, it better matches the number of modules you're likely to actually put in one of the cases. And then they added more jacks to the top, so you can have something like 8 1/4-inch outputs. I'm not sure how that actually, I'm not sure which modules take advantage of that, but in theory you could just get like a lot of these little 1U outs or something like that, or like the stereo IO that I have in the top right over here. Those have like wiring on the inside that connects to the jacks on the top. You can kind of see in the top right corner of the right case that there's 2 1/4-inch cables with purple tags coming out. That's how the sound is coming out of my system and into my computer. And so these cases only have 4 jacks on the back, which you can mix and match to be either ins or outs, whatever you want. But the new version of the case has double that amount of jacks. So yeah, it's pretty good. I don't know what, oh wow, I really need to keep up with the chat here. I don't know how much they weigh. It's not super light. Like, it's not like you can't carry it. I can carry both of them at the same time, one with each hand. But I'm generally pretty careful when I'm moving them around just because there's so much expensive stuff in them. There's also a lid that it comes with that goes over the top and snaps on. That's another thing that they changed in the Generation 2 ones that came out a few months ago. This version has kind of like a clasp a little metal bar that goes around these little hooks on the side. And it's a little awkward. It doesn't fit super well sometimes, or it's just kind of, it's a little clunky to get them on. And the new version of the case has some sort of magnetic seal that's supposedly just as secure, but easier to get on and off. I've never tried those with myself, but supposedly they're nice. So yeah, I'm a fan of these cases. I'm not sure if you can get the Gen 1s that I have anymore, but for the same cost, I'm sure you would want all the improved things about Gen 2. Eurorack isn't widespread in France. That's interesting. Because I actually find that, well, maybe I'm biased by watching a lot of like modular content on YouTube, but it seems like electronic music and music production is actually very popular in Europe, maybe more so than the US. But I guess a lot of that does seem to be based sort of in England, maybe. Yeah, in the UK it's popular, maybe not so much in France. I feel like there's a few Eurorack manufacturers in France, though. I may be mistaken. Yeah, I saw the what is it? You call it Gigaslop, that new ALM module, or the Gigaquade or something, Megaquade. I forget what it's called. Yeah, that thing is a beast. It's actually, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but that ALM who makes Pamela's Pro Workout, just a day or two ago, they released this new module that's massive. It's like, I think my biggest module is the mixer over here, and it's probably twice this size. I don't know what it is in HP, but it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like mutable instrument stages, which is this one over here, which is like it's for generating like custom envelopes where each one of these sliders is like a segment of the envelope, just like a CV value that changes over time, and you control how long it takes to transition between each step and what sort of value on the y-axis it's transitioning to at each step. So you can create interesting curves and patterns and stuff. And it's kind of like a version of that where multiple of these are chained together. So you can have something like 13 steps across a single very large envelope, or you can split it into smaller segments. So you can have like a 4-step and a 4-step and a 4-step and some, that kind of thing. So it makes like certain parts of what Stages does, like some of the common use cases, maybe a little easier to do, but also in some ways maybe a little less flexible, and maybe not. Maybe doesn't have all of the features of Stages. So I don't know. It looks big for me. I feel like if you're going to be something that big, you have to be really essential. Like I think the mixer is the only thing I have that's remotely that big. And even with this, part of the reason I picked this mixer is because it's relatively small compared to like other kind of do it all in the case sort of modular mixers. Everything else I could find with anything close to this feature set was much larger. So for me, even though it's not perfect, Zermixa is like kind of the best compromise, I guess, in terms of feature set versus size. Hey, Cicero. Welcome to the stream. Great to see you. Appreciate you stopping by. We haven't done any music yet. We've just been chatting about modules and cases and gear. So maybe we should start doing some actual music or some patching and not just chat. If there's something you want to see, for those of you who weren't here right at the beginning, I guess I'll do my little spiel again, which is I've been doing these streams once a week, either Fridays or Saturdays, trying to make sure that I can cover time zones for people who are not available on Fridays. I'm in the West Coast of the US, so when I'm usually doing it on Friday, like people here are working, so I'm trying to do them occasionally on Saturdays too, so that people have a chance that can't on Fridays. Anyway, so these streams are about kind of unplanned, let's see where it goes, sort of patch from scratch. I want them to be interactive, so and I want them to be educational. So for anyone who's here live, if you have questions, if you have things you want to see, if you have a particular idea for where the patch should go, please let me know, because I think that's the most valuable thing to do while it's live. If I was just doing this by myself, I could just make it a video. It wouldn't need to be live. That said, if no one has a specific idea, I actually do have an idea. Even though technically these things are supposed to be totally unplanned, I did have an idea in advance this time, which is I'm kind of interested in trying out this module over here, Water. Let me zoom my case in. This is Water. This is a module from a company called Jasmine and Olive Trees, and it's actually a multi-firmware module. So this is actually an overlay that I have on top. The module that I bought, the default configuration is Traffic, and this is the one that's actually more popular of the modules they sell. This is kind of like the way Noise Engineering does it, where they have a sort of a single piece of hardware that can have multiple different firmwares on it, and you buy sort of the base module in one of the configurations of one of the firmwares it can be, and then they send you these little overlay plates for the other firmwares, and then you can just move a dip switch on the back of the module to switch which firmware it is, and put this overlay over the top so that you have labels that match the firmware that you're using, which I think is a really, really nice thing that these companies do with digital modules, where you can just kind of completely change the functionality, because the hardware is expensive. So getting so much more value and versatility out of a single hardware purchase is a really, really nice thing for them to do. Like, it doesn't cost more in terms of manufacturing. Obviously, it costs more in terms of time and development for the software. So it's just, I think, a very generous thing that they do. So Traffic is the one I bought it for. And this is the one that's kind of more well-known, more popular. What this is for is it's supposed to be used with like a macro oscillator, which is something like Mutable Instruments plates, which is over in my left case. This one, or Platts for those of us in Europe. Apologies for the confusing pronunciation. Vision Music Group, you know what I'm talking about people complaining about how you pronounce plates. I am adamant that it is plates in America. Anyway, this is a macro oscillator, so it has a whole bunch of different synth engines, and you can change which mode it's in, and you can control that over CV. So you could do like an entire drum kit out of that, just that one module, in terms of having sounds from the same module that sound very different from each other. But it's kind of hard to do that because you have to send it different CV values, and all of its different parameters you might want in different positions for the different sounds. So essentially you need something that helps you program switching all of the settings on the module per trigger, essentially, if you're doing like a drum part. Although you could theoretically do it for something melodic too. So what Traffic does is you give it 3 separate triggers that are, the sort of default use cases like kick drum, snare drum, hi-hat. And then it combines all of those 3 triggers into a single trigger output. But then there's also 3 rows of CV signals. So you get 3 different sort of values that you can control for each of those different trigger types. And you dial those in so that when there's a trigger that should be your kick drum, you're sending 3 different CVs to 3 different parameters on your macro module that dial in the kick drum sound. And then when your snare hits, it's still sending a mixed trigger to trigger the sound, but it switches to the next set of 3 for whatever parameters are required for your snare drum sound. So the idea is that you can use a single macro oscillator to get 3 parts of sort of voices, and so it's great for that kind of like drum kit all in one module. It's also really good with Basimilus Ateritas Ilia, the famous drum module from Noise Engineering. Also a very good use for it. Let me check questions before I continue. Oh yeah, WMD does indeed make modules. I think they're very, I have 3 of their drum modules, only 2 of them in the case right now. So Crater is a kick drum synthesizer, and Kraken is like a physical modeling snare drum module. So these are dedicated to kick and snare sounds respectively. I also have Fracture, which is sort of it's like a hand clap sort of generator in the same style as these 2. I don't usually need like a snare drum and a clap at the same time, so I will switch Kraken and clap back and forth depending on which one I feel like using. I don't think I've ever had both of them in the case at the same time. But yeah, they're really cool, and they have a big lineup. I think there's maybe 6 or 7 of these sort of dedicated drum modules at this point. They've got several for like metallic sounds. Their newest one is for hi-hats. I would like to have a dedicated hi-hat module, but I actually don't really like WMD's hi-hat because it's really just a sample player, whereas their previous their previous drum modules are all like physical modeling synthesis, which I find more interesting. It sounds good though, and it's got a lot of versatile controls, so you're getting a lot of bang for your buck in 8 HP if you need a hi-hat module. For hi-hats, I usually use Timp Legio, the percussion Legio firmware on the Legio from Noise Engineering. WMD is also very well known for their performance mixer, which is another alternative to Zermixa, which I have. The performance mixer, I think, is one of the older ones that was definitely out long before Zermixa was, and it's very popular. There's like a version 2 of it now that has a bunch of upgrades over the original, but it's been around for a while. I think that's what they're most known for. Oh man, yeah. the panels on this side. I don't hate that they're not black in terms of the color scheme that I have kind of going on. When I first filled in the last slot in these two cases, I did a live stream like maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it was funny when I did that one, this Niv Grad in the bottom right corner, like that IO module, this actually had a silver plate because I initially had it in this case, and then I had to do some shuffling around where it ended up in this case. So this is the one module where I actually did buy just the cosmetic faceplate to change its color. And it was kind of annoying to do. And so it has occurred to me that I could get like black replacement panels for the €1 over here. But I feel like the fact that it looks mostly uniform and it's not like one module is a different color than the others in the same row, it doesn't bother me so much that the €1 is silver and not black. But yes, there's a company called, I'm forgetting their name. They make black panels for basically every popular module that doesn't come in black. If you check Modular Grid, you'll find them for sure. And so that's pretty cool. That if for the people who care about the cosmetics and the aesthetics of the custom synth that you're building, like I do, then that's a very nice resource to have. Excuse me while I drink tea. It's a little awkward to not be speaking constantly when everyone's watching you. So that's Traffic, what I just described a minute ago. It has two other firmwares that come with it. One is called Water, which is the plate that I have here. And then there's another one called Hotel, which I've only tried once when I first got this. But, so I don't remember very well how it's used. But I was thinking about this one. I think I was reading a thread on Modwiggler, the modular forum, where they were talking about Traffic. And there's like a new revision of the hardware that has slightly different behavior. And I was just thinking like, oh man, I haven't used the alternative firmwares in a while. I think that would be interesting to try. So I thought maybe we'd do a patch exploring Water to see what we might get out of it. So I just skimmed the manual, so I may not have a super deep understanding of this. We might need to experiment a bit. But what it does is it's like a CV sequencer. So we can use it for pitch or any sort of modulation you want. And it's 3 different sort of CV outputs that follow a particular sequence of change. Like each one of these knobs corresponds to like a step. But each of the 3 sort of CV channels is offset from the others in terms of which one it starts on. So I think I guess it's like here. So this jack A, jack B, jack C, those are the 3 output channels. And then you give it like a clock, and every time it gets a clock pulse, it advances to the next step in terms of what CV it's sending out. And you turn the little pots to control the CV value that's being sent out for that step. And every time it gets a clock pulse, it advances to the next one following the white line on the panel. So like from the top left corner, it goes across the top row. And then after this step, it goes down to the next row on the left. So essentially like the way you would read it in any left to right language. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then two interesting things. One is that there's only 8 steps per channel, even though there's 9 pots. So when it gets the first sequence, when it gets to this 8th one and it gets another clock, instead of going to this 9th pot, it jumps back to 1. And then the B output is the same idea, except that it starts on the 4th pot instead of the first one. So it goes like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, and then jumps back to 4. And then the same idea for the third output. It starts on this bottom left pot, and then it goes 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it jumps back to 7. And so those three are all happening at the same time. So you essentially you first plug it in, and you've got the A jack is playing whatever that is, this top left, whatever 1 is set to. The B jack is outputting whatever 4 is set to. The C jack is outputting whatever 7 is set to. And then at every clock pulse, all 3 of them advance to the next pot in the sequence. So I think the idea is that you could get these kind of just like everything's playing the same sequence, but it's like out of phase with the other ones because there's an offset of the starting position. So I'm not sure exactly what to expect and sort of what sort of benefit that would have versus just having 3 separate sequencers. But I was remembering back to like music theory. Well, I guess it's not so much a theory thing, but just like a style of music, that there's a type of musical piece called a round, where you have essentially a musical line, like a vocal part or something. It's like, I associate it with choirs, and then it'll repeat over and over. And then after the first repetition, like another voice will come in that's singing the same thing, but offset. And the progression of the notes is such that the notes that land on top of each other when they're offset forms a chord. And so you get these beautiful harmonies from having the same melodic line repeated over itself, offset from itself, and each one looping. So they loop at different points, but they create different pitches on any given step. And so I think that is kind of essentially what water is. It's like mathematically, it's kind of the same idea, assuming that you use these CVs for pitch. So that was my idea, is to maybe just explore this a little bit and just send these to 3 different oscillators, mix it all together, and try to tune them to something that sounds pleasant when advancing the clock. That was a lot of talking. Let me check in with the chat. Compare to. Yeah, we could also use compare to. Maybe we'll use it for just like timbral modulation of one of our voices. I will also recommend for compare to, I don't think he's here today, but Brees is another modular YouTuber who's very good. His name is spelled Bries. If you've been around modular YouTube for a while, surely you've seen him. He works a lot with Your Analog, who makes Compare To, and he's written a PDF called The Practical User Guide to Compare To, which is very good and gives you, I think, 7 or 8 different patch ideas for Compare To across audio rate changes, modulation, like basically lots of different things that you can do, and has a little bit of sort of like the synthesis theory behind how it all works. And crucially, it also has like very nice visual diagrams that make it easier to understand what Compare To is doing in a given scenario. I think that's one of the harder things about using this, is that even if you understand what it does, it's hard to dial in a specific setting when you can't actually see the range of voltages that it's analyzing. So having diagrams helps a lot. So if I don't get to a very detailed sort of dive into that today, then I recommend checking that out. I mean, even if I do talk about it more, I still recommend checking it out. It's a great guide. But yeah, let's try to use that too. So let's see. Any opinions on what oscillators to use for our voices? I'm thinking, well, let me get a few patch cables to start. I really should have put in my Tauros Iterratasilia, because that is a really good, like, drone voice. But, what should we use? What should we use? I guess most of my oscillators are in the right case. We could do a drone on plates. Let's see. Why don't we use plates, just so I can say plates over and over and frustrate the Europeans? So let's get... yeah, plates. Okay, I'm going to put plates in channel 1 of the mixer. And maybe I'll just use, for the other two, maybe Basimulis and Manus? I don't know. Or maybe the two sides of Castor and Pollux. I don't know. Get a couple of shorter cables. Well, let's definitely do Manus, because I know that has like a droning mode. Oh yeah, Stages does have an oscillator mode. I've actually never used it. I would have to check the manual about how you put it in that mode. And I have no idea how to control it, so I might need to look into that a little bit before I do it on stream. Let's try Basimulis first, and let's do Castor and Pollux. So we'll do the two of them mixed together. I can use a short cable for this. Let's mix those two together. And actually, I can do like stereo left-right for Castor and Pollux, because it's got two separate oscillators that can be either mixed or output separately, but let's output them separately into a hard left-right pan. And then we're going to need to tune our oscillators. So let's get some big long cables from the mixer. And I'm going to do this silently just so it's not annoying. I guess we only need one, really. I guess we need two because of Castor and Pollux. All right, this is the part that might be a little tricky with my arrangement today, that it's a little hard for me to see the screen on data from this angle, but I think we're okay. Okay, so let's turn on plates and give it kind of just a normal sound. Okay, so plates is already set on C3, which is fine. And let's see where we are on Manus. I need to, I think, go here to get a constant signal. That's pretty close too. You can use this for like a lower voice. So we'll set this to C1. Oh, let me open the envelope all the way. Make sure we've got... It's a little sharp. There we go. That looks good. And then 3 is Castor and Pollux. Let's tune this down a little bit. We're a little high. I want it on C2, please. This is a little harder to tune because it's a analog circuit. And this one in particular is supposed to have a lot of wobble to it. Okay, let's switch to the right channel. And let's get this on C2 also. Okay. Oh, I don't know. How well can you all see the screen on data? Is it visible? Like, let me actually switch to the left camera. Can you see the text on it at all? We had some trouble in past streams of the when I zoom in on one case that the resolution is not enough that you can actually see the display on data. It's kind of dark. I see it on my computer monitor, but I don't know how readable it is over the internet. Okay, so those should all be in tune now. can go back to our oscilloscope and let's plug this into our output so we actually hear something. Okay, main out. There we go. That's 4 oscillators all playing some C at some octave. So you can hear that okay? And my voice is audible over the sound of the oscillators. Hopefully neither one is too loud compared to the others. Okay. So we've got our voices plugged in. The next thing, so I want to try using this for pitch. But I don't want them to be microtonal, so I'm going to have to quantize all 3 of them. So for that, unfortunately, these modules are not near each other. I've got water over here, and my quantizer is barred quartet, which is over here. And now here's an example of how this would have been easier patch cable-wise when the cases are oriented vertically, because they're both kind of on the left side of their respective cases. So I would have just had to go like that to connect them, but I need something longer here. So let's do my big long cables. Okay, so we're going to do channel A. Maybe I'll flip these over the top. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll go down the bottom. So this will be going into input 1 of the quantizer. Channel B of water will go into input 2, and channel C will go into input 3. And anyone have a preferred scale to use? We could always just do the usual major or minor, but it might be fun to try a different, more exotic scale. Feel free to shout out your favorite scale, but in the meantime, I'm going to quantize this for I think that's right. This is Mixolydian flat 6, aka the 9 Inch Nails scale. This is something I learned from my buddy Ixie Music, a great YouTuber that does music listening parties, music appreciation content, and music theory, just like breaking down, doing musical analysis of very popular music, so you can understand from a music theory and emotional perspective, like why you respond to your favorite music the way you do. And this is something that I learned from her, that 9 Inch Nails will sometimes uses this scale, which is kind of an interesting mix of major and minor. It's the minor scale would have a minor third, but if you change that minor third to a major third, but leave the 6th and 7th flattened like they are in the minor scale, you get this really pretty blend between major and minor that kind of has the emotional depth that people like about minor, but also with this kind of slightly dissonant sort of feeling of hope that the major third adds. And it's a really pretty quality. So hopefully we'll get something pretty out of this. All right, so we're quantizing all 3 channels. And then we need to send the outputs of those 3 channels to our respective oscillators. So I'm going to patch in. Output 1 goes to plates. Output 2 and 2 goes to Manus, which is here. And output 3's got a long way to go, but hopefully this cable's long enough. That's going to go from output 3 to pitch input for the Castor side of Castor and Pollux. Okay, let's bring these in again, see if they sound terrible. I think that might have sent Castor and Pollux or Manus down an octave. We'll see how this goes. We might want to change octaves, but at least it sounds in tune to me. And And then I think what we're going to do is, we're going to need a clock for this, right? So let's get a clock from Pamela's Pro Workout and send that into the clock input on water. And then I'm just going to, let me see if I can reset this. 1 second. I got to kind of look from a funny angle. So I'm going to reset all of the outputs on Pam. And let's do something slow. So yeah, like 102 BPM. And sure, why not just a quarter note or a 1x modifier? So bring these in. So now I'm just kind of twiddling the knobs to random notes. Well, that does not sound good. I wonder what the range on these is, because I wonder if these need to be attenuated. Because... oh yeah. So this is like full voltage range. I think it probably goes like... well, I mean, let's just see. We can see exactly what it is. If I unplug that... let's unplug channel 1 for a second from water and just stick it into data and look at the voltage monitor. So, oh, I guess I have to put my clock back in so that it actually hits that step. But that top jack, it should be 0. But if I go all the way up to the top, it's kind of hard to read, but I think it's like, it looks like maybe 8. It goes by so fast. Oh, here, let me just turn up all of them. And that way it'll always be high no matter what step it's on. It looks like it's about 8 volts. So using a voltage range of like 0 to 8 is like a massive range on, of pitches. Like that doesn't sound good for a melody line. So I think we need to attenuate these signals so that the pitch changes can't go more than an octave or 2 from the original one. I think that's the way to do this. So that means I might actually be able to get away with shorter cables, maybe, because I'm going to use Quadrat to attenuate these. Let's try this. Okay, I'm going to unplug all these for a moment. We're going to try and do this in two steps. Okay, so maybe these cables are long enough, maybe they're not. Yeah, that should work. So channel A is going to go into channel 1 on Quadrat, B into 2, C into 3, and then from the respective outputs of Quadrat, we'll go the rest of the way into our quantizer. Maybe there's a built-in attenuator on Bard Quartet. I don't think there is, but I could be misremembering its feature set. Okay, I'm going to set... so I still have all of these... oh, thank you, Tara. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate your participation. Hope to see you next time. Okay, so let's go back to... well, I guess we're not using this for anything. But let me bring in the voices again. I have them set to the highest values on water. So I can just basically start bringing up the attenuation. They're attenuated completely right now, so there'll be no voltage coming out. But as I bring up the attenuation, or I guess decrease the attenuation would be the technical term, it'll let some of the signal through, and the maximum that I let through is like the highest that the pitch could ever be. So I think we don't really want it much higher than that, honestly. Maybe a little bit. We'll start small. Interesting. I think we maybe want to go up an octave on Manus. And that now sounds out of tune, doesn't it? Because I guess they respond to pitch differently, so they're not going to be playing the same notes. All right, I'm adjusting the fine tuning on the pitch on Manus to make it kind of match a little bit better. And now I'm going to scramble these values again. Maybe this won't work as well as I thought it would. I'm hearing some wiggle too. You guys hear that? This is actually kind of cool. And it's kind of got that, exactly that Nine Inch Nails feeling that I was describing, where it's like, got a little bit of unusual dissonance, but it's still kind of pretty. Like, it doesn't sound like the notes are wrong, they're just unusual. I think it sounds awesome. Let me add in a little bit of vibrato or chorus on Castor and Pollux. Or actually a lot of it. Oh, maybe that's too much. Because with Castor and Pollux, it has two different oscillators, and the one on the right is like just an offset from the one on the left, and you can detune them from each other. Like, they play in unison by default. I feel like it's kind of getting off there. Maybe I think I may have bumped it. Oh, I muted the wrong one. Yeah, unplug its pitch for a second. So just a moderate amount. Yeah, for sure. We're going to have to bring Ruin of Versio into this. Okay, so let's use this as like the basis for our pitches. And let's just have some fun with like changing the sounds now. So the other thing I was thinking is like, if we run these through a VCA and then maybe use something that's kind of swirly and slow to sort of bring the voices in and out, so they're not always playing, and like turning the rate of change way down. So let me change this modifier on the clock speed to be much slower. Okay, so now I've got a division by 8 on the clock speed, so it's only changing, I guess, every 2 measures, essentially, instead of every quarter note. And so this is a long enough wait on each step that you could potentially have it like kind of fade in and out. Okay, so we're going to unplug these from the mixer for a second, and we're going to run them through quad VCA first, and then into the mixer. So let me unplug this guy, and we're going to do this, keep the same channels going. So channel 1 will be plates, and we're going to go from the plates output into input 1 on quad VCA. I go to the left case where all the interesting stuff is happening. Oh, I guess, well, the other oscillators are in the other case. Okay, so are these going to be long enough? The output of 2, or output of Manus will go into quad VCA input 2, and then are these cables long enough? No, we need a longer one. We need the long ones. Okay, so output of the second VCA channel will go into the mixer. And then the input, so these 2 little short ones, take those out. And once again, going far across to the other case. These kind of guys are a little in the way. Okay, so channel 3 is caster into channel 3 of quad VCA, and then back into the left side of channel 3 of the mixer. And I'm going to run out of cables of this color, but it's all good. Then the Pollock side of the oscillator into channel 4 of the VCA. And out of that channel into the right side of channel 3 on the mixer. And so if I turn these all back on, we should hear nothing because they're now all going through the VCA, which is closed. Yeah. But if I turn these off, we hear them. So what I was thinking is just using 4 unipolar LFOs on oct to bring those voices in and out. Let's see, are these cables long enough? Yeah, just barely. Let me switch to my DC coupled. Oh, wait, what is it? DC coupled 4 preset. So this should show. I don't know how well you can see on the camera, but so I'm plugging in. These are going to be 4 unipolar triangle waves from the expander on oct, and we can visualize those on Data's screen. I don't know how well you can see on the stream, but that's showing all 4 of them, where they're kind of from top to bottom decreasingly slow. So maybe I'll just kind of do something so that the top one is fairly fast to start with, and you'd be able to hear some change, and then we can adjust the rate of the LFOs with this knob. Or I guess you can't see it. The oct knob right here next to these green cables. Yeah, oct is awesome. It's kind of an essential, like, it's just so useful for how small it is. It's hard not to say that you need it. Okay, so let's go from there into the VCA's CV input. So these attenuators will bring the sound of each voice in and out. I got a hair on my quad VCA. Okay, so now we've got the clock from Pam determining when the pitches change, but the LFOs from oct determining when the volume changes. And the oct is not synced to the clock, so the rate of change is kind of random, essentially, or it should feel organic and disconnected. I think it's time we need to bring in some delay and reverb, because that's going to be the thing that takes this from good to great. So, let's go to my right case. Let's reset the mixer so that it's got... Oh, God. Try to click them all with one hand. There we go. Let's set all the sends to 0. And we're going to use send A for C legs. For the input. And then it comes back into the stereo A return. And I just dropped a cable on the floor. Unmute A. And let's send... Let's just start by sending the same amount to the delay. And right now the delay is not synced to the clock, which I think is okay because it's slow enough that you can't really feel the tempo. Let's use I think we want a digital delay for this. Short pulses that you can't really hear. We mostly care about the reverb here more than the delay, I think. Are we hearing that? Let's see. Yeah, it's definitely there. I think because they're kind of... It's a little hard to hear because it's always present. Let me turn it all the way up to max. I mean, it definitely gives a vibe. Maybe cut out some of the low-end frequency from the delay. How about a little noise? I don't really hear it much. Yeah, I think that's too quiet. Let me also trim this. So I'm turning up the input so that it's, I don't know if you can see it, but the input on the delay, that little red LED right there, when that lights up, it means it's actually overdriving the input, adding a little dirt to it. So I'm trying to get it so that it just barely lights up the red light, but it isn't always on. All right. I wonder if we need to make these pitches a little more different from each other. Because I feel like it's kind of just going back and forth between 2 or 3 sort of similar sounds, and I want the progression to sound a little more like it's changing. Rakalik. Oh, YouTube is recommending me. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you very much for stopping by. Yeah, I've been doing these live streams for every week for about a month now, and it's been going surprisingly well. Like you said, it could go very wrong. But somehow it's been fine. I feel like this cable might be actually breaking a little bit, or it's like... I feel like the Castor and Pollux pitch is kind of changing a little bit when I bump the cable. Might not have a very solid connection. I mean, this sounds pretty cool. So another thing we could do is... we haven't involved any filters or any timbral change on the oscillators themselves. So we could start doing that. I forget, who was it that was asking about compare to earlier? Oh, Terror, who had to go. But they might watch the stream later. We'll try to work compare to into this somehow. But let's maybe start running some of this stuff through filters. So, Hideaway Man, welcome to the stream. No, I am not using all four. Oh, you're right. I think I only set... That makes a lot more sense. So I only set channel 1 on Bard Quartet, but I didn't actually program in the scale on the other channels. That's 100% a mistake. Let's see, did I put the scale in correct? I also put the scale in wrong, so that's part of why it sounds weird. It's a little hard for me to see at this angle. But let's at least get the scale correct on every channel. That still looks wrong. This one should be lit. That's wrong. That should be a major third. That one's right. And this one, that should not have an F sharp in it. Okay. Thank you so much. That was a very obvious oversight on my part. So for anyone who missed that, I'm using 3 channels of quantization on Bard Quartet, but when you program in a scale, by default it doesn't affect all of the channels, and so you have to, I think there's a button shortcut that allows you to like hold something down and change the scale once and have it affect multiple channels, but I don't remember what that is offhand. So basically what I had going on is that the pitch of plates was changing because I had more notes programmed in on the scale, but Manus and Castor and Pollux were just playing the root note over and over because I hadn't added additional notes on their channels. That was, yeah. I thought it was just because I had set all of the CV values on water to be the same thing, but you're absolutely right that I was actually not ever sending anything but the root note to the second and third module, so this should sound very different. Hey, Breeze! Glad you could make it. Welcome to the stream, and I plugged your Compare To guide earlier. I was actually reading it and working through it again this past week after you mentioned it recently, because I was like, I need to refamiliarize myself with all of the tricks that were in the practical guide. And then someone earlier was asking about Compare To, so I have recommended both your channel and the practical guide as very excellent learning materials for Compare To. Hold down the track selector buttons at the same time. Yeah, that's that's also for grouping channels, right? I think that's the one thing I don't love about the ShackMap module that I have is that, and from what I've seen, that it's kind of similar with their other modules, like the more complicated ones, is that they're very clever in like maximizing, and let me mute this for a second. They're very clever in like maximizing all of the features by having different combinations of holding one thing down while pressing another thing in different modes give you different features, but I find that they're not intuitive enough that I remember them unless I revisit the manual periodically. So that's kind of a bummer, but I feel like I would rather have that than to have those features missing completely. And if it's something that I used like all the time, it would stick. It's just that I don't use all of these modules every single time I use a patch, so it's kind of hard to keep the entire manuals of all of them in your head at once. I think it's a delicate balance to get, like, when you're designing a module. And I think this is one of the things that's so interesting about modular is like you're very limited. In software you could have a million sort of submenus and labels for things, but with hardware, at least, and with modular, like you have physical constraints of like how big the module can be, how big the controls are, how many jacks they have, how the labeling fits onto the faceplate, so that there's something to sort of help the user remember how to use it in a way that's intuitive and doesn't require constantly referring to a reference. And then also making it ergonomic so that if there's performance features or like knobs that you would want to turn while you're playing, you can actually get to them through the sea of cables. I think that's that's a very difficult design challenge, and I'm always impressed when a module is able to like kind of strike the right balance of ergonomics and UI and usability. It's just really interesting. So I think like I was saying, Shackmat goes a little towards the pack in as many features as possible at the expense of making it harder to remember all those features from just looking at the panel. But I think that's better than having something that's more limited. Because, I mean, you're not really losing anything. You just don't use the features that you can't remember, or you refer to the manual. So I think that's fine. So for anyone that's joined more recently, to catch you up with what we're doing, this is a patch where we're experimenting with the alternate firmware called Water for my traffic module from Jasmine and Olive Trees. And this is a CV sequencer that has 3 output channels of CVs that follow the position of these 9 pots, but each channel is offset from the other sequencer by 3 steps. So they go kind of as you would read them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But the first channel starts on the top left one, the middle channel, or the second channel starts on the second row, and the third channel starts on the third row, and they wrap around. So it's all 3 channels are playing the same sequence, but because they start in different positions, they're not playing the same value at the same time, and they sort of overlap it in this weird out of phase sort of representation. So we're using these CVs for the volt per octave pitch control for 3 different oscillators, and we're sending the audio output of the oscillators through the quad VCA, and then we're using 4 unipolar triangle waves from Oct Expander to modulate the VCA levels to kind of bring the relative volumes of the 4 voices in and out in a way that is unclocked from the change of the pitches. So that's what we're hearing. And then this is all running through C-legs for reverb and delay. I think one of the hard things in modular is getting pitches to be exact between tuning, essentially. Because I feel like at the beginning of all this, we tuned the oscillators to make sure that their bass pitch was the same. But some of this sounds a little more dissonant than I would expect, like the oscillators actually aren't tuned exactly the same. Maybe I bumped one of them. I've also picked random CV values, so it's possible that some of these steps just aren't forming pleasant chords. Like they're intervals that don't quite work, but like that sounds just out of tune to me. So we may need to retune, which unfortunately is a little annoying because then I have to change the routing on all of this. Right? Doesn't that sound kind of out of tune? I mean, it's okay. Modular's messy. And this is definitely something that's kind of going for some degree of dissonance. So we'll let it ride, and for anyone who's very sensitive to dissonant pitches, I apologize. So I was thinking kind of like maybe just timbral changes from here. I also kind of suspect that this cable is maybe a little off. I'm going to use a different cable for the pitch of Castor and Pollux. Just to see if we can get maybe a little bit more solid of a connection into the volt per octave, and so it won't kind of wobble when I bump the cable. Well, so the voltages that are hitting the volt per octave of the oscillators are quantized, but the bass pitch, the bass pitches may be off. I think let's take this out for a second and make an attempt to retune this really quickly. I'm gonna go down to the tuner and We're going to take out just the first channel here, and I'm going to move them one at a time. So plates should not have changed because... Oh, I need to unplug the volt per octave. Oh, you know what? I should really not go from the mixer, but from the oscillator directly, since I've got the VCA going. So that actually does seem... Why? It seems like it did change. Oh, wait, what did I do here? Oh, I was plugged into the trig and not the volt per octave. That might be part of it. Okay, that seems like a C. That's all well and good. So let's plug that guy back in. Channel 2. This is coming from Manus. Let's unplug that. This should also be a C. It's a little sharp. That should be fine. And send that back to input 2 on the VCA. Max Cooper. I'm not familiar. What kind of music does Max Cooper do usually? Like, would you describe this as like ambient, I guess? Okay, so this is coming from Castor and Pollux. Let's unplug this. Oh yeah, that seems okay actually. Let's try I think it may be the 4th channel of Castor and Pollux that I bumped. What do we got on this? Oh yeah, that's a little bit sharp. But it's also, let's see, a little bit sharp, but not too bad. I think it's okay. Okay, let's send that back into the pitch here. And I think we should be as in tune as we can get at this point. That still sounds really wrong to me. Experimental ambient with a touch of edge noise. Interesting. I should check that out. It sounds really cool. And a great visual artist. Well, thank you for the recommendation. I'll have a look. Okay, these two seem okay. I think it may be Castor and Pollux that's out of tune. Castor and Pollux is the only one of these 3 oscillators that is analog. And I have had some difficulties sometimes getting the pitches to line up perfectly. Sounds okay. Is maybe Manus a little off? I don't know. Something's a little off. But I think we're just going to roll with it because I don't think troubleshooting... Yeah, I mean, you can hear that. Something's definitely off. This one... Oh, I think it's the pitch to Manus also. Maybe these green cables are starting to die. Let me use another cable with more solid jacks. Maybe we'll have a little bit better luck here. Okay, so I think what we want to do here is use our other effect send for Ruina Versio, which is distortion. This could be really cool. So let me get, I think I can use shorter cables here because they're in the same case. So we're going to go effect send B into the input of Ruina Versio. You think that sounds better? I think it was actually the cable was the problem. Was that like because our ears are very sensitive to pitch, and slight voltage changes can actually affect the pitch pretty significantly. So I think it was maybe literally just like bumping the cable was like kind of slightly changing how well it was transmitting electricity. and that was enough that we could hear it, which is kind of both an annoying and amazing thing about modular. Okay, let's bring in Ruina in full wet mode, and I'm going to start to bring in some distortion. So we're using distortion as a send effect, which is not usually how it's used, but I don't want to do a lot of rerouting to kind of make it an insert for all this stuff. So I'm bringing it up all the way to 100. I don't really hear much. Did I do this right? And let's also send... Let's send the distortion to C legs, maybe at 50%. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, but I think if we wanted to do some pitch fluctuation like that, I would like it to be a little more controlled, like actually mixing in some, like an LFO into the pitch CV or something, and not like have it be so off and so unpredictable. Like I'd like to be a bit more in control of it. Okay, I don't really hear anything. Let me... Do you guys hear anything coming from Ruina? I don't hear anything. I see signal coming in. What have I done here? There, I hear a little bit of it there. I guess we'll never be able to hear it at the same time because there's no delay on the distorted voice itself. Oh yeah, I hear it now. I had to kind of change the architecture. I'll zoom in on the right case. So Ruina has this switch that lets you toggle between under, cross, and over, and there's another one of those things where I have to look at the manual to see exactly what it does, but essentially it's changing the internal architecture of which of the different parts of these circuit like feed into the other parts. So it's like, does the drive come before or after the phase change and that kind of thing, and it just kind of changes the character of it. So let's add some wave folding. Octavize. I don't want it to be too overpowering. And then there's a phase thing that can kind of do some sort of change between the left and right channels. Some offset. Oh yeah, that sounds cool. Let me bring it down a little bit, though. I don't want it to be too overpowering. I want it to be kind of... I think it's maybe... We'll send 50% of the distortion to the reverb and delay. And then we'll send maybe 80% of the raw signals of each channel to the distortion. Beautiful. That sounds great. So we have a few, it's not a dumb question. The question is, where is this sequence coming from? That's what water is doing, which is what started all of this. Let me go back to the right. So we're sending what's advancing it is Pamela's Pro Workout. So we've got the clock source is this guy on the left. Pam is sending a single trigger every 2 measures at whatever rate this is. I think we're like 102 BPM. Yep. So at 102 BPM, every two measures, it sends a clock to the advance input on water, and then each one of these pots, these 9 pots on water, is set to a random CV value, and the value for channel 1, 2, and 3 are going out those cables respectively to our 3 oscillators volt per octave, and every time the clock advances, each channel advances to the next knob in sequence, but they're offset from each other by 3. So they all play this roughly the same sequence, but not at the same time. So if I move the knobs on water, that will change the melody. And water's just outputting CV in a voltage range of from 0 to 8 volts. So I'm attenuating that with Quadrat up here, just to bring in the range so that there aren't such extremely high and extremely low pitches. Like everything's kind of within a couple of octaves of each other. So we're attenuating the raw signal from water, and then the attenuated signal is going into barred quartet, which is making sure that no matter what voltage comes in, it snaps to the musical scale that I've programmed in here, which is Mixolydian flat 6, which is a beautiful mix between the major and the minor scale that Nine Inch Nails uses a lot. And then from our quantizer, we're going into the volt per octave input on our 3 oscillators. So I think from this point, we just want to do more timbral changes. Let me try messing with the... Oh, you know, another thing we should do is let's self-patch oct. So if I take a short cable, I can take one of the like kind of medium speed bipolar triangle waves from oct and patch it into its own CV input, and then bring up the attenuators. Bring a little bit of volume through on the attenuator, and this will actually change the. Oh, let me go back to the oscilloscope. So on the oscilloscope, I don't know how well you can see it on the stream, but it's showing you the 4 LFOs coming from the oct expander, which is what we're using to modulate the VCA levels of the 4 oscillators. And with the self-patch on oct, it's actually going to change the rate of those LFOs, so they won't always fluctuate in and out at the same rate. Yeah, I think it is chromatic. I guess, well, it's not chromatic more so than any other scale, but I think we tend to like associate chromaticism with dissonance, and because this scale has kind of an unusual dissonance to it that we're not used to hearing, it does create these kind of intervals and chords that we would interpret as sort of chromatic. So I think that's a fair way to describe it. Yeah, this sounds really cool. We haven't yet used any filters though, so let's do that. I mean, Manus has its own built-in low-pass filter, so that's an easy one. We can just take another LFO. Let's take maybe one of these kind of like slow noise. Maybe slow noise isn't right. Let's do this just kind of randomly fluctuating triangle wave to the low-pass filter. And then if I set its default position to more closed, I'm not sure how clear that is. I'm just going to take a bunch of LFOs from Oct and modulate all the stuff on Manus. I going to record and sample this? I wasn't planning to. I mean, it is being recorded in the sense that this stream will be a video that you can watch again after we're done. I wasn't planning to sample the audio from it. I think it's a good... For me, it's like a proof of concept of using water plus... Water as a sequencer for this kind of like phase offset sort of chord creation system. I think my intuition was that this is what water would be good at. So I could imagine doing a more sort of developed piece of music with this technique. But in general, I haven't really planned to sort of keep anything that we do during the streams. It's really all about learning and interacting with each other. All right, let's modulate the other voices too. So, and we can actually modulate Ruina maybe also. So what would we change on? Oh, you know, another thing I've been doing here is Castor and Pollux actually has 3 different wave shapes on each side that can be mixed together. And bring in all of them evenly. And let's maybe modulate the pulse width on the 2 square waves. So maybe these cables. And I'll take some slow noise from the oct expander, send that into the pulse width on each side. We might need to attenuate some of this stuff. Yeah, this is very nice. I think this is maybe like the most musical thing we've made on stream yet. Yeah. It's being used right now by everyone listening, and everyone who will listen to this in the future. Kind of inspires me to shut up and just listen to the sounds. Alright, let's modulate plates too. So we've got a couple more slow noise outputs we could use. I think these might actually be too slow. Here, let me do, let me take a couple of bipolar LFOs for the plates. These cables are probably too long. Yeah, that's fine. So let's put those into timbre and morph. I'm probably on the wrong camera, right? There we go. So I'm taking 2 bipolar LFOs from oct and putting those into timbre and morph. So that'll change. This will change the wave shape on plates. Just gonna turn them all the way up for now. We'll see how much of a difference that makes. And I'm wondering about maybe running all of this through like a master filter. Or whether we want to just filter each voice. Because I have a bunch of filters that we haven't used. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, let's take let's send Castor and Pollux through Icaria. And once again, I'm looking at the wrong case. So I just unplugged Castor and Pollux, which is both left and right on channel 3 from the mixer, and I stuck it into Icaria. And let's now feed that back from Icaria back into the mixer. And let's put it at unity. And then let's find a modulation source for this. Maybe we'll just, for the moment, we'll modulate with slow noise from Oct. Resonance, maybe? Oh, that's cool. We've got to get some modulation on the resonance here, because it sounds awesome when it's up higher, but I don't want it to always be up that high. So let's modulate resonance with our other slow noise. I think this last slow noise might be too slow to ever really hear it, or it'll come in very rarely. Let me try like another LFO. Let's try a faster one first. That is gritty. And Icaria can also overdrive the input, so we can give it even more grime by turning up the input. I'll turn down the resonance so it's not quite so strong. And we can also modulate the stereo alternation between the two. Because Icaria is actually two parallel filter lines. So the stereo control allows you to detune the cutoff between the left and the right side, so that one of them will follow exactly what's on the panel, and the other one will have a position that's offset, either positive or negative from that point. And you get different sounds in each ear. Oh, we were supposed to use compare 2 also. I'm trying to think how to work that in. Maybe what we'll do with that is we'll send let's send a I'm thinking we'll take a copy of the output of plates. Am I on the right case? Oh yeah, you can see probably. So I'm unplugging the output of plates from the VCA. I'm going to send it into a multiple, and then I'm going to take the one copy of the multiple will go into the mixer like it was before. I guess we might actually need to do some actual mixing. We need a longer cable for this. Will this reach? Okay, so I'm sending, let me just do the full zoomed out view. So one copy of plates is going to go into Quadrat over here. And we're going to go back from Quadrat back into the mixer. So this just brings us back to where we were before. But now we can take a copy of the plate signal the post VCA plate signal, and we can send that into one of the input channels on compare 2. And then my idea was we'll take the aux output from plates, which is a different version of the main waveform, and send that into the input on the second input on compare 2, and then mix the output of that. Maybe we'll do the XOR output. Mix that audio that's being generated into Quadrat, and then mix these two together back into channel 1. And then if we mess with the size and the offset, we should get some interesting modulations. Let me try bringing out the effects and the other two oscillators just so we can really hear what it's doing. So if I take out the second channel, that's plates by itself just out of its main output. And then this, that's the result of the VCA signal that we were just listening to a second ago, exclusive OR'd with a copy, or exclusive OR'd with the aux output of plates. So it's just creating a lot of wild sort of audio rate modulation. And again, it's hard to explain what this is doing because there isn't like a graph on compare 2. But it's looking at the incoming signal, and you set a window of voltage, and you imagine like a waveform going up and down, and you say that whenever the voltage is within this range, this lower and upper bound, send out a positive gate, and whenever it's not, send out a null gate, like 0 versus 5 volts or something. And so you're getting out of the output is a binary signal. It's either on or off. But if that binary signal is oscillating at audio rate, then you get pitches. So this is going to give you all sorts of very rich harmonics. I'm essentially just picking random values by changing the width of the window that it's looking for and the offset of that from 0 volts. So the window could be either in the negative or the positive range of the voltage range. And the XOR output specifically is a logic circuit against the two sides. Sorry, this is kind of annoying. Let me try to find something that's gives harmonics but isn't too high-pitched. Like, I think something kind of more like that. So changing the width of the window and the offset of it from 0 volts will change the sort of the waveform that's produced on the output based on how often the incoming signal is inside the window or not. And then the XOR, exclusive OR output specifically, is essentially performing a logic operation on the two channels of the comparator. There's two identical circuits here. And XOR the gate will be high only when one of the two is inside the compared window, but not the other one. Or sorry. Yeah, that's basically right. Like, either side can cause the gate to turn on, but if both windows are active, then it will not trigger the XOR output. Yep. So we just kind of get this weird changing sound, and when mixed back with the original signal, gives us some sort of timbral changes. But yeah, that's what I one of the things I'm starting to love about these streams is just like, someone gives me an idea, and we kind of roll with it, and then people who are listening can play along at home, add more layers as they listen. And it's kind of like we're all in a room jamming together with the power of the internet. So I feel like because of the squealiness of this, like, we probably do want to filter this. So let me take the XR output and run it through. Let's just use, I've got dual dagger right next to it, which is a multi-mode filter from ShackMat. And I'm just gonna run it through this filter to pull out some of the really high stuff. But yeah, definitely Nine Inch Nails territory. Not only because of the harmony created by these out-of-phase sequences playing in the Mixolydian flat 6 scale, but also because of the sort of combination of pretty and ugly sounds kind of being mixed together. Like we're fading in with some cleaner timbres and then getting little bits of bleeps and bloops and distortion and kind of grime and grit that's not always present. It's all just kind of mixed together. It does sound pretty good. I kind of feel like I want the more atmosphere though. Put a little feedback on the delay. In terms of atmosphere, we also still have Desmodus Versio available, which is literally described as like an atmosphere generator or something. So we could maybe... This is a little nuts, but I'm wondering about maybe sending the output of sea legs into Desmodus and then back into the effects return, just so we have like a reverb feeding another reverb, essentially. I mean, hell, let's try it. So we're gonna lose our delay temporarily while I repatch. Just sending this to the output, or setting this to the output of Desmodus. And running out of cables, but maybe this will reach. And the output of sea legs into the input of Desmodus. Very high regen. And very full size, full density. And let's use the shimmer mode, which should give us like an octave up. And then maybe some modulation on the speed to give it some warble. Or modulation on the delay time, that is. I feel like we could really kind of go into infinite regen here. It does sound really good. I'm gonna call this a successful experiment with water, because this is I mean, I couldn't really imagine exactly what it would sound like, but this is definitely kind of what I was hoping for when I was reading about the way water works and how it has, you know, creates these phase offset versions of the same sequence. I'm like, oh, that's just a round. And that's essentially what we've created here. So it's got this beautiful quality of like there's harmonic change, but it's because it's slow, it kind of is somewhat unpredictable. Like you couldn't really sing this. There's not like a melody per se. So it sounds like, to some degree, like it's a drone that just isn't changing, but then also it is sort of changing, but not in a way you could sing. It's just kind of this beautiful kind of meditative middle ground of change and stability. You know, both in terms of the pitches and the harmony and the volume and the timbre, we're kind of all modulating it in these very organic ways, and it just kind of results in this thing that's just like an organism, almost like a musical organism. And this is the beauty of modular, man. I mean, I guess technically there's nothing you couldn't have done here with software. There's nothing here that you couldn't have done with software, is what I meant to say. But as always, that's not the point for me. I enjoy the modules, I enjoy the patching, I enjoy using my hands. So we could keep layering stuff on top of this, but I think maybe this is kind of a suitable place to end, sound design-wise. If anyone who's watching has any other questions or wants to discuss any other aspect about this, then I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, I might just sit here for a few minutes with all y'all and listen to this. I guess before I go completely quiet, I should also do my sort of usual end of stream plugs. So I assume if you've made it this far that you're enjoying the process and the result here. So I hope you'll follow along with me for more of these. I'll be doing them every week. Currently I'm aiming for either Fridays or Saturdays, early afternoon. That's in US West Coast time. You know, maybe a completely different time of day depending on where you are. But that should work for Europeans in the evening and those in North American time zones in the afternoon, especially on Saturdays. I do have Patreon now, so if you really like the stuff that I'm doing and you want to help support me in continuing to make these things, I would appreciate any support. There's a free tier that you can join if you don't want to contribute money at this point. That'll give you access to kind of just announcements of new stuff, news and other things. The paid tier gives you access to audio downloads of any of the music that I post on the channel, any musical performances. And then also access to private channels on the new Discord, which is available. So if you like modular and you want to chat about this stuff with me and hopefully an increasing number of other modular fans, I hope you'll join the Discord. There's a link to both Patreon and Discord in the description of the video, or if you just go to my channel homepage, you'll find out there. You can join Discord for free too, but there are additional channels for kind of more other specific topics that you'll get access to with a support or paid tier on Patreon. And I think that's all I've got plug-wise. I'll be trying to do a regular video in addition to a live stream every week. I don't think I'm going to have one this coming week because I had some personal stuff going on in real life and didn't have the time for it this week. But in general, I'm aiming for sort of a once-a-week cadence of videos, and that's going to alternate between musical performances generally involving modular, but usually some other sort of music hardware as well. And then module deep dives where I go, it's sort of a video manual about a specific module, but then also lots of musical examples of how you might use it in patches. And then occasionally some sort of smaller like tips and tricks sort of videos about specific techniques or specific use cases for a module or a pair of modules, that kind of thing. Anyway, that is the end of my self-promotion stuff. So I'm going to shut up now, and maybe I'll just type in the chat if there's any other questions. But I'll leave the stream playing for a few more minutes in case you just want to zone out and listen to this without my voice over it. So thank you very much for everyone who was here today and participated in helping me build this patch. And for anyone who's watching it on recording, thank you as well for your interest. I hope you enjoyed this and maybe even learned something.